Coming to you live from deep within a leafy and blowy and sort of dusty radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right Kek apocalypse. Once more waiting, the few, the brave, the bitchy.
Oh my god.
That was well timed. The few, the brave, the howly. Once more waiting into
she's
battle.
actually a bitch, so she's
there you go.
Bitchy.
Yeah, excellent timing there.
And my husband just farted in the other dog's face. So
okay. Once more wading into battle against the froggy, farty zombie hordes. This is Lonely Men Just Hate Women. Just hates them. Just hates them.
Remember that? What's that from?
Yeah.
That's a classic.
That is a classic.
He hates us. He hates us.
Men just
that hobbit hates us.
Yeah, but there was a woman who did it. She was like,
there was a woman. They hate us. They just hate us.
Oh,
yes,
that bitch. She was like, fuck.
It was years ago. It
was years ago. It was one of the old memes. It was one of the ancient memes, Karen. One of the ancient ones, the dark and ancient ones.
I can't remember her name, but I do remember she was a Indian Briton with a British accent. Chloe.
No. Remember, I think we did a Rantzerker, a ragening on her. We did a ragening on her.
Is this Clementine Ford?
No, it wasn't Clementine Ford. This is gosh, you know what?
It's not Zarna Joshi, is it?
Yes,
the humongous, the lady humongous lady.
No. It's a different brand of misandry. That's not quite right. But it's a very flavorful, piquant brand of misandry that she brought.
I vaguely remember that. Maybe somebody in the chat that's been doing this a while will remember.
One of the old ones.
Chloe Avignon. Chloe Avignon.
Oh,
okay.
No, maybe
all right.
Not.
I don't know.
All right, maybe Chloe Avignon, but anyone, one of the old timers, tell us this.
I
do you recall this brand of misandry and who it belonged to?
I know what they were talking about. They were talking about the UVA false rape allegation.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. That was published in Rolling Stone.
Oh yeah, right.
Old mattress girl.
Yeah, it was about.
No, it wasn't her.
No, it wasn't. It was another one. It was another one.
No, but it was about the University of Virginia false rape allegation.
Okay.
That was published in Rolling Stone, and some feminist was commenting on it, and reading a story like this, you can only come to the conclusion that society just hates women. It just hates us. And I'm sure it was Chloe Avignon. Well, I bet my reputation, not my life, but my reputation on it. Chloe Avignon.
Okay, someone confirm this. One of you old timers who've been with us our fellow travelers that've been with us for decades. Confirm if Karen is correct. And if she's not, then we shall ritually strip her reputation from her in a ritual manner, like the Skeksis in Dark Crystal.
Or just kill my evil, bad, smart dog.
Oh,
so I'm only left with.
I don't want to kill.
So I'm only left with the evil, smart, bad, noisy dog. So I'm only left with the good, cuddly, loving, quiet dog.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
who springs a boner every now and then, but I can live with that.
Okay. I am at a loss for words to respond to that.
Usually when he's pooping and making creepy eye contact with me, I can live with that.
They're just making sure that you're sticking around so that they have somebody who has their back while they're vulnerable. That's what they're doing.
Yes, apparently so. Although when I asked this question, when I posted on Twitter years ago, because I'd never owned an intact male dog, right? And I was like, well, why is I've never owned a male dog, let alone an intact one, right? So is it normal for him to spring a boner while pooping and making creepy eye contact?
Boner noise.
And all of the advice was, close the bathroom door while you're pooping. And I'm like, no, when he's pooping.
Adventures with Karen. Okay, speaking of having your back, if you would like to send us a message at any time during the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever you send us, and you get the benefit of avoiding YouTube's minefield of censorship. And you have a little bit more space to confuse us with your esoteric thinking. And that's always entertaining. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And my computer died this week, which has left me very discombobulated and also quite headachy trying to do everything on an iPad or iPhone, not even an iPhone. If you would help me out so that I can get back, and I can't do any editing work at this time until I get a replacement. And I will tell you the epic story of me finding out how much it's going to cost to repair this thing, and some interesting. Well, first of all, when it was just the keyboard malfunctioning, it was quoted as $850 plus infinity tax, Canada's infinity tax. Now it doesn't want to turn on, so imagine that's going to be even more. And then someone suggested Rossmann, which I already know about, and I messaged them to get a quote. They said, send it in, we'll give you a quote then. I'm like, okay. They told us if we have to replace this, it'll be $100. Probably they won't just have to replace that. If we have to replace this, it'll be $600. I'm like, but we can't tell you exactly until we see it, and we might charge you even if we fix nothing because you tried to fix it yourself. So I'm like, okay, that's a little bit scary. So I'm looking at a replacement. It's not going to be as good a model as I have now, or don't have, or is junked brick on my desk. But at the very least, it will get me up and running again, doing editing on my videos and being able to finish the editing on my book. So that's my sad story. It's been extremely stressful, and I would really appreciate some help with that. So if you would like to give me some help, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support for now. I've had to suspend my editing fundraiser, which was really painful, but I can't do anything without my laptop. I need to get it replaced, and it's sounding like getting it repaired is send it, take your chances. Roulette, play the roulette of repair. See what happens.
Yeah, no, my best friend is trying to repair his car right now, and he's put $2,000 into it, and it's going to be another $1,000, and who knows whether that'll fix it. So
yeah. So that's a little bit intimidating. But anyway, I can replace it within a reasonable amount. I do want to give a thank you to Remote Ruby for putting in $1,000. Thank you, Remote Ruby.
Holy jeez, thank you.
Ooh.
And then I want to also thank, and I will do some arm twisting. Because we need about.
Here's some arm
chicken.
twisting. Here's some arm twisting.
Can I thank? Thanks. Can I thank people before you twist arms?
No. Okay,
all right, go ahead.
If she gets a new computer, she won't phone me as often because she'll have other things to do. It's not that I don't like Allison or anyone for that matter. It's just that I hate talking on the phone. And if she doesn't have work to do on a computer with a keyboard, right, then she's just going to want to talk about not even about her problems, but about her book. I just I don't got time for that. So, I don't got no earbuds that fit in my phone, so I can't wash dishes or fold clothes while she's talking about her fiction with me and not actually getting anything actually done. So, maybe you guys could all just do me a favor and set her up with a new computer.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, I guess. I
love you, Allison. You know I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I want to thank Hyper Chicken for $50. Thank you, Hyper Chicken. And I think Mrs. Anne of Arc put in another 10. So technically, I'm going to aim for about 2,000 for the whole thing. So I probably should update that. But anyway, so if you want to help me out there, it's feedthebadger.com/support. It'd be great to have that weight off my back.
Support.
Really appreciate it.
Support Karen.
Support Karen not having to listen to me.
By sending money to Allison.
So Karen doesn't have to listen to me.
And
Okay.
I like listening to you. It's just,
Can't you get like little earbuds?
eventually it gets to be, it's like that episode of Seinfeld where they're like, yeah, sometimes you fake the orgasm because it's enough. And you're just like, that's go. You just it's late, and
The more you talk, the worse I feel. Okay.
Don't feel bad. I love you, Allison.
All right. So feedthebadger.com/support. Help me out with that. It is pretty stressful to not have it. So I really appreciate everybody who's put something
I'd be
in.
going crazy. I'd be like,
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm having a perpetual headache since I've had to do everything on my phone. And we got that shout out from Shu, which it was great to get, but then I had to do a whole bunch of stuff on the Discord, and it was extreme. It's really difficult to do stuff on an iPhone.
Oh God, I have old lady eyes. My freaking text, I just expand it to as wide as possible. There's one freaking word per line. Sometimes not even.
Yeah, try troubleshooting Discord.
Yeah, no.
On a freaking iPhone.
I don't even have my email attached to my smartphone.
Yeah, that'd be pretty painful.
Well, because I'm just like, yeah, no, I got nothing. I got nothing on my smartphone other than text messages and phone calls. That's it. I don't even have Skype.
That sounds smart.
There.
Okay, so I'll do...
Because I can't see shit, because I'm an old lady.
All right, I'll do some arm twisting at the half hour. So, guys, do help me out with that, and let's do some of this.
Okay.
This lovely.
Are we watching the video now? Okay.
Oh,
we're finally watching the video.
After her, though. Do we have to repeat after her?
No, we don't have to repeat after her.
No. Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah, I know. This is a TikTok.
She says repeat after me.
Yeah, I know. It's a TikTok. So speaking of Shu, thanks Shu for shouting us out. Hopefully there's some new people in there and that are watching this. So I wanted this video is kind of relevant because people are now being made aware that there is a lot of men who are feeling like despair because they can't find a partner, because they're struggling in the dating market, because they're looking for a good woman, because that's kind of what we do as human beings, as men at least most of the time, and it's not working out for them. And we've been talking about stuff like this for about 10 years, and some people now it's getting out into the mainstream. And I guess here's a bunch of TikTok videos of women. I don't think they're feminist women. I think that there are some feminists in there, but just women responding to this issue.
There is not a crisis of lonely single men. There is a crisis of misogyny.
What troubles me is that the media is complicit in this. Look at how many stories they're writing about this. Look at how sympathetic these articles are. And it's not that they shouldn't be sympathetic. It's not that we shouldn't have compassion. But where are all of these articles for women who are lonely in marriage, or women who are in dangerous marriages? Or
are you fucking crazy? Like the one instance that the spotlight is off women, and suddenly where are the what did you miss? The never-ending stream of where are all the good men? How women are being let down by men and they're not earning enough, so women don't want to marry them. All of that. Did you miss all of that? Did you miss all the drumbeat? All of the freaking NGOs who deal with women having problems in their marriage, women being abused in their marriage. Like, how much? Literally.
we have
One
an,
instance.
we
Oh,
have
no.
an entire government apparatus and a federal bill replicated by state bills and provincial bills and like legislation, right? In order to the Violence Against Women Act, that is specifically designed to deal with abusive relationships where women are abused by men, right? So like you literally got federal legislation. It's been replicated in every state, right? Replicated and basically it's redundant because it's at the state and federal level, right? You have everything. You have
Assault
everything
is
you
already
asked
illegal.
for.
Like these things are already illegal without the Violence Against Women Act. That's literally virtue signaling through legislation.
Well,
to
the
get
whole
the
the whole
vote.
Violence Against Women Act was designed to cut men out of family violence legislation, male victims.
Yeah, originally it was
So-
the Family Violence Act,
Yeah.
which, locally might have been interpreted to cut men out, but for the most part, at least it didn't cut men out on a federal level.
In the
It
language.
was gender neutral,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they replaced it with the violence. That was a 1984 bill and legislation. And then in 1994, Joe Biden brought in the Violence Against Women Act. He sponsored it. And and
This woman is
and-
perplexing me because she looks like she might be 20 or 80.
She's definitely
she's-
like middle age.
she's like an she's like an Aes Sedai from Game of Thrones.
Should we?
No, she does actually look like she's a 20-year-old, 50-year-old.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I mean, she looked like a bit of an Escher painting or something, or maybe it's just because she's got such a bitchy face on.
No,
Well-
she doesn't have a bitchy face. She's got a sad face, but
It's
she's
sad
got those.
face.
She's got
concern
those
troll.
glasses, and she's like, I think she, like, in terms of her features, like, she's very neotenous,
Mm-hmm.
but you can tell from the lips and the forehead wrinkles that she's middle-aged.
Mm-hmm. Shall we play some more of this?
Yeah, it's just an
Okay,
interestingly ambiguous age.
Yeah.
All right, let's
The
play
women
some
who
more.
are most likely to be hurt or unalived by their domestic partners.
Okay, all
Unalive.
right, stop.
I'm sorry, but if somebody says unalived, I'm already not listening anymore. I'm
Well,
sorry.
they're doing it because they don't want to trigger the algorithm.
Yeah,
but
this is on TikTok. I don't think that matters. People are like straight up like showing their bush hairs on TikTok. So I think saying like killed or murdered is probably fine. I think that people are trying too hard to be too thoughtful while also demonizing and shitting all over men. Just
Well,
saying.
look at the
she
subtle
doesn't-
smile here, though. Like she's got that subtle,
that
contemptuous
half
grin.
smile, yeah.
a half smirk of duper's delight. Oh yes, another person who definitely believes what they're saying. They're not just saying it to put something over on someone. Oh, goddamn. And also, this is all bullshit. Like, honestly, if women left men and partnered with each other, the rate of domestic violence would increase twofold. And in fact, that's
True.
what they're finding. Like, as women turn away from men and date each other, their misery, their mental health is going in the shitter, and the rates of domestic violence and rape are skyrocketing. What a surprise. Because they're horrendous between women. So it's
Yeah.
not men who are responsible for domestic violence here. And it's not women. I'm not saying that either. But I'm just saying that it's not men. They are not the devil you are looking for, my dear.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's really getting tiresome that you're turning them into that.
Mhm.
But honestly, they need domestic violence and they need rape and they need to distort the statistics so we don't know what rate at which these things happen to men, which that occasionally a true reflection of reality slips through. And believe me, it's a shocker to most people
Yeah.
that domestic violence and rape there is a hidden epidemic of it against men by women. And but regardless, they need these, and they need them to be gendered to maintain their particular ideological gender roles, in which women are victims and men are perpetrators. And why do they need that? Because every other data point in history and modern shows that systems benefit women and prefer to protect and provide for women. Systems created by people who also prefer to protect and provide for women, okay, and pay attention to women, which is why this woman can completely miss the never-ending river of concern expressed for women and focus like a laser on the one little bit of flotsam in the freaking torrent that says, hey, maybe men might need some help. And also, isn't feminism for men too? Excuse me.
Only if they give up their masculine identity and become like women. Then maybe, but they should be kept at arm's length because they're still men. So no, feminism is not for. It's not even for women, to be honest.
It's not for anybody.
No, it's not. It's not for anybody.
Borat, shut your whore mouth. There you go. All right, go on.
All right, shall we continue? Let's go on.
This whole narrative that I've been seeing in the media has been really problematic for me. I have been quite nervous about it, and I couldn't quite figure out why until recently. At some point, I started getting a lot of comments from men, whether it was here or on my articles, and a lot of them were saying things like, this is such a simple problem. Women could solve it easily, but you choose not to.
Just pausing for the banana. Sorry, I went and watched this video, and it's just like cancer from start to finish. The person who made this video is a woman who hates men, and she makes a bunch of videos about like living the single and happy life. So this is not like something that's going to be a response. This is not shared ironically. This is all like shit that this person actually believes, and I think these women also actually believe this.
Choose to hurt us by continuing to opt out. And of course, what they're talking about here is opting out of being used for domestic labor and SUL fulfillment. Interestingly, there are a lot of problems that men could easily solve for women that would ultimately solve that problem too. But they choose not to solve those problems and do not.
Okay, wait a second.
Wait. No. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I really have an X to doubt on this particular line of narrative, right? And also, the reason why women are not choosing men is because they don't make enough. The end.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed about women's desires in men from when we were in a very good economic situation where more women could stay at home, which hasn't been the case. Like we just had this really prosperous couple decades where men could actually afford to allow women to stay at home. And, that ended, and it didn't really happen before. That middle class men could do this. Not just rich men, but middle class men could do this. Just a couple decades where we were prosperous enough for this to happen. And now that's over.
Even working class men.
Yeah, even working class men to a degree. Okay, that's over. All right, fair enough. We're back to the way it normally is, which is both people have to work to make ends meet. That's the way it's always been, pretty much. And but the thing is that women still want men to make more than them. And men are not making enough, and that's it. It has nothing to do with any other factor. This is the primary factor. Men do not make enough. Has nothing to do with personality, has nothing to do with domestic violence, which gets worse if you choose women. Does nothing to do with rape, which gets worse if you choose women, if women choose women. Okay, it just has to do with men do not make enough. And also the resentment that women have learned, apparently. I remember this really stuck in my mind once, because I read it, and it's about, it was, I think, maybe a Swedish woman. And I'm pretty sure it was a Scandinavian woman, probably Swedish. She divorced her husband because she was resentful that there was a separation of labor and she was staying at home and he was doing the work. And so she divorced him over this resentment. Then she got in a relationship with a woman, and she stays at home and the other woman works. But she doesn't feel like she was forced into the role.
She doesn't feel like she was cheated out of having a career. And what's infuriating too, right, is that women obviously want, right? Because, okay, why do you get into a romantic or a sexual relationship? You do it because of the drive to make copies of yourself, right? you wanna pass down your genes. Okay, well, looking at everything on a completely objective level, right? Okay, who's serving the drinks? Well, that's mom. Who's gestating? Who has to like take a break from work to gestate and give birth and then recover from giving birth? Well, that's obviously the woman, right? And so nature has kind of just through evolution has set up a system where women are rewarded for staying close to their babies, and men are rewarded for going away and coming back with stuff, right? And like chemically rewarded, hormonally rewarded, right? With things like dopamine and oxytocin and testosterone and all of these different chemical rewards, right? Because that is how things worked best, right? Those were the best hormone cycles and neurotransmitter cycles to promote survival and propagation during our very recent, most intense period of evolution in all of hominid history. Okay, so the Pleistocene, right? The period where 6 out of 7 hominid species went extinct. We were the ones who survived with about 3% of Neanderthaler DNA. Okay, so except among Africans, they're the purebloods. But this is how it worked, right? And why did the Neanderthalers die out? Because they didn't have a sexual division of labor, right? That's one of the reasons they didn't die out. That they died out, right? Is because they had a sexual division of labor where the women stayed close to the camp, close to the children, right? And the men were the ones who went out and faced danger and fought the battles and brought in the moose or whatever it was, because they were all big game hunters. You know, like Cro-Magnon man did things that way. Neanderthalers did not have a gender division of labor. They put all of their people into the same job, which was hunting big game, right? They've looked at skeletons. They've basically ascertained that there was no gender division of labor among Neanderthalers. They were smart, but they weren't smart enough to divide labor by gender, right? So you have this situation where we've got this system in our systems, right? Not in our societal systems, in our biological system, right? That rewards new mothers, right, for taking some time off, taking it easy when they're pregnant, taking it easy after they've given birth, staying close to baby during the neonatal period, during the infancy period, all of it, until toddlerhood at the very least, until you can trust your kid not to walk off a cliff or eat the red berries, right? And where men, when their partner, when their mate has a child, he feels an impulse, right? And it's a cyclical impulse to go out, get stuff, bring it home, and he's rewarded for that every time he does it. And then the longer he sits at home, the more antsy he gets, and the more irritable, and the more unhappy, and the more unconfident, and the more miserable he gets. And the nagging wife and the bratty kids start getting on his nerves. So then what does he do? He goes out and he gets more stuff and he brings it home, and then he's happy again, right? We have these hormone cycles they're not set in stone. I mean, I guess if we had another 200,000 years to rejigger them, right, we could, but we don't, right? The pill has only existed for 60, 70 years, right? The sexual revolution has only existed for 60, 70 years, right? This whole idea of not pairing up has only existed for 60, 70 years, right? The idea of women are not just equal, but identical contributors to the household has only existed as an experiment for 60, 70 years, right? It's not working. It's not working. It's not making anybody happy, right?
Yeah,
So no
I want to
woman-
just point this out. Let me take this from a completely different angle. I want to go back to what I said. Most women would be married if men made 58% more than they do now. And scaling up. All right. It is women's dedication to seeing men's worth in terms of their bank account that is preventing us from pair bonding. That is keeping our society focused on capital as a measure of worth in men. You are never going to get your communist utopia if you do not address that. And I'm saying that from a completely neutral standpoint. Like I'm not going to opine upon whether or not that's worth doing. I'm just going to say that until women do not judge men by their bank account, you will never even take a single step towards a true communist utopia. And the funny thing is that you'll call out any group of people for judging people's worth by the number in their bank account, except for women. If you're in your communist utopia, you can't make pair bonding it is dead in the crib, period. The end. Even the Soviets managed that. Okay? You can't.
Oh, yeah, that's why all the Soviet countries and the Soviet bloc countries, right? The Soviet allies, they all eventually outlawed abortion.
Yeah, they're the only ones that came closest to the Handmaid's Tale, but we aren't ready for that discussion. But regardless,
they all outlawed abortion because their birth rates were declining, right? Because women refused to pair with men, because when you have men and women earning exactly the same amount of money, right?
And women don't want to pair with them. You got to deal with that. You got to look at that.
And I'm not judging women, because you look at the formation of a family, right? So you have a man and a woman, and they're making equal money, and they're living in an apartment as if they're roommates, and they're sharing expenses equally and whatever, right? Okay, and then you add a child, a completely dependent child, right? Not another roommate, a child, okay? And that's an extra expense. That's an extra mouth to feed. That's an extra room you have to pay for, right? All that stuff. And then an extra future you have to provide for. So you have to add that to the collective expenses. You have to consider that, okay? But you also have to consider that the mother is going to she's going to be out of commission for a certain amount of time when she's heavily pregnant, and immediately after she's given birth, and then while she's breastfeeding, she's going to be at not optimal productivity. She's going to be below average, below her capacity to perform labor, right? To perform productive labor, like financially productive labor, right? So you have to account for that. Well, who's supposed to not just take up the slack for her being out of commission, but then also pay for that extra mouth. Okay, well, that's the man. So of course she wants a man who earns more than her. Of course she's going to want that. I would want that. Any rational, sane woman would want that. While I'm out of commission and somebody has to take up the slack for me, and absent all of these crutches that the government provides, there was no maternity leave in the Pleistocene, paid maternity leave. There was no freaking universal health care during the Pleistocene. There was no nothing like that. There was no welfare.
Yeah, but there were communities. Like there were extended
communities, families. Yes, and there were extended families. But the last thing you wanted was to be a burden on your in-laws and your uncles and your cousins as a woman with no husband.
Yeah, that was
no mate.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like we sort of reproduce in groups as opposed to just pairs. If you look at going backwards, you'll see that more and more. Like the clan was basically an extended reproductive unit. And
yes,
then
but if a woman in that clan just kept on popping out babies without any man willing to take any kind of responsibility for them, well, what do you have? You have the Muoso. You have the Muoso in China, right?
Erotic.
Thank you. But you have those people, right, who were coerced by the higher-ups, by the elites, right? These are serfs. This is a way that the serf class was organized by the ruling class in order to keep them from becoming a threat by disrupting the family structure, right? Oh, we, the aristocracy, are going to have marriage, and we, the aristocracy, are going to have patrilineal lines of inheritance and all of that stuff, and co-parenting between biological mothers and biological fathers, and all of those things, right? But the peasants aren't, because that way we can keep them subjugated. And, well, last I checked, most of them don't even have fucking running water.
But anyway, the overall point is that women would pair bond if men made 58% more. Period. So it is women's adherence to basically measuring men by the status of their wallet. I'm not going to give a positive or negative to this. That is preventing pair bonding. Now, we can say that that's perfectly positive. We need to somehow make it so men are earning 58% more. I don't know.
I'm not putting a value judgment on it. This is just an is, right? And it's like, it is like there is no good or bad here. There is just is.
Okay, but this individual, I bet, would consider that to be, in any other circumstance, illegitimate to judge someone based on the size of their wallet. And yet, in this circumstance, it is. And I'm also really skeptical that there are that many men who are saying, well, women could fix this problem. We're hurting. Women could fix this problem. And then what? Yes, that's actually true. And that is the same thing that feminists say. Women are hurting. Men could fix this problem. Except the problem is them gendering criminal activities, making them about masculinity rather than about criminals. Okay, but let's and she says they don't hold. Okay, so what she's saying here is that the things that women face, men don't hold themselves accountable for. Really? Because I'm pretty sure if some
pieces of legislation, right? Like,
I'm pretty sure if some guy took a swing at you, lady, that the men around you would probably intervene. We've seen this multiple times.
Maybe not these days, but
not these days, but at the very least, you could call the police.
She's literally, like, if she wanted a system, right, a societal system where men held each other accountable for how they treat women, she would go back to patriarchy, right? Because patriarchy is what spawned gendered domestic violence laws before the Violence Against Women Act, right? There was gendered enforcement of domestic violence laws. Men were holding other men accountable for the most part.
But you see, the thing is that, Karen, men are not holding men accountable because men still do it.
Only men could commit rape, and only women could be victims of it, right? According to patriarchal laws.
Because there exists men who rape and engage in domestic violence, men are not holding other men accountable. They're not stopping it.
we need to actually create the utopia before women will join in, I guess.
Ugh. Can we let's hear some more of what she has to say.
Accountable for that, and yet we are held accountable for this
one. You're not being held accountable for that one, you dumb bint. Nobody is demanding that you be classed as criminal because you're not getting in a relationship. Although, believe me, I think the world would be a better place if you had something to put a smile on your face.
Yeah, well, and I think the world would be a better place if women in marriages who are like cold and like there is something to be said. Yeah, something to be said for the perfunctory handy. Is it that hard? It's like literally 5 minutes out of your day, and it's more enjoyable than washing the dishes.
Okay. So, that be it as it may, men are held accountable for their treatment of women. And you are not being held accountable for the male loneliness epidemic. In any stretch of the word, the only thing that people are doing are saying, oh, men are hurting. And you're like, I'm not going to be held accountable. I'm being held accountable. Why? Because you're having to notice something about the existence of men? You know, last night, I just decided to read Of Mice and Men. And I was reading it, and incidentally, the female character in there, they were very, very explicit about the kind of social power she wielded over every man in that book. She basically threatened the black man with a lynching. And the other men, said, no, we'll say that nothing happened. And she said, oh, they're going to listen to you? And every guy, and this was in I guess it would have been in the 30s, every guy in the room just shut up. And she just threw her weight around and she left.
Yep.
And that was reality. Mm-hmm. In that time period, women could get men killed with an accusation. And they could silence men with an accusation. All right? Now, men hold each other responsible and have always held each other responsible for how women are treated. It's what lynching is in many instances. Now, what occurred to me when I read Of Mice and Men is that this is about the group of men that we threw away in the past. So we'd throw away men in World War I. We'd throw away men in the Depression and all the other depressions. We'd throw away men in World War II. So they just go, either they'd starve or they die in war. These were the men we just didn't want. And for the first time, possibly the first time in human history, the men we just don't want don't go away. And they have a voice. And we have to look at that voice because we can't get away from it. Because they have finally come to the table. So all of the Slims and Lennys and Georges of the world finally have a voice. These men that we used to just be able to throw away and forget about, they finally have a voice. And look at the face of this woman as she actually has to listen to that voice for once. She's not being held accountable to it. She's not expected to change her life at all. It just exists. And she can't stand it. What a level of entitlement.
Yep.
All right.
I've also noticed that a lot of men have been coming into my comment sections and saying things like, well, look at this crisis that we're in, this loneliness crisis. Like, you choose not to solve this. No one's listening to us. No one cares. And so when men commit violence against women, it's because of that. It's because we have no other option.
Wait. What are you? What? These are men who are lonely. They're not in relationships with women. They're literally rationalizing. They're not rationalizing anything. First of all, you're making some connections that make no sense because they're emotionally convenient to you.
Well, I would have to actually see some receipts here.
Yes.
Right, because I have seen men who are so black-pilled that they might say something like that. Right? Like I have
Yeah,
seen,
sure, that happens.
Yeah, I have seen men who would lash out and say something
Verbally.
like that verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have seen some men who have actually acted it out, but as Allison has made the point many, many times, a man is way more likely to enact his rage or resentment
On
or
other men.
despair on other men or on himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, than on women.
Yep.
So,
and
They're
also,
literally
you know,
rationalizing rape.
The way that men, I think also it's important to note that the way that men tend to lash out doesn't look like the way women do it. And this woman is like really, really abusive, but she's doing it in a way that people can't see how absolutely hateful she is. So
well, she's so cute though.
Well, she's trying. I don't think she's cute at all. But yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying it's about like it's
forehead
there's a difference between like, you know, just cursing and yelling and but like you're just venting or whatever, and it comes across as loud and aggressive and maybe even a little scary, but it's not as insidious as this, where it's like,
let's hear it again.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit and play a little bit more too.
Because of that, it's because we have no other option. They are literally rationalizing RAP.
No, wait, go back further.
Okay.
Go back further.
And so
further than that, that's just a little bit more. Okay, there we go.
Yet we are held accountable for this one.
You're not being held accountable.
No,
just keep going.
A lot of men have been coming into my comment sections and saying things like, well, look at this crisis that we're in, this loneliness crisis. Like, you choose not to solve this. No one's listening to us. No one cares. And so when men commit violence against women, it's because of that. It's because we have no other option.
Are you freaking...
She's saying that men will demand that women solve the loneliness epidemic, which I doubt men are actually making that demand.
No, all right, lady. Okay. This is absolute, utter bullshit. You know what? If men are saying this, it's because they have internalized misandry. Because men do not engage in violence along this trajectory. You want to know what trajectory men engage in violence along? Genetic factors that lead to low impulse control, so actual brain damage in the frontal lobes, plus abuse. That's what makes violent men. None of this shit makes violent men. None of it. So this trajectory that you're making or you're creating is absolute bullshit. And if it came from a man, it's because he has internalized your beliefs about how intimately entwined masculinity and violence is. All right, you basically, women like you go out and you say, men are violent because masculinity, because it's inherent to them. And then because they want to lash out at women because they don't give them what they want. And then people are talking about this thing that supposedly women aren't giving men what they want. And men come to you and say, but men will lash out at women if they don't get what they want. And you're like, oh my God, they're rationalizing rape. They just repeated your own bullshit back to you.
Yeah.
Good Lord. You're like a cat hissing at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And you're right, Brian. This is absolutely abusive.
Yeah.
She stands there and she says things
yelling
like,
and cursing is not like this. This is way more sinister.
This is sinister. It's ugly. This is a vicious person. And she is sitting there and she's saying to men, oh, when women deny you things, you get abusive. And then we talk about this thing that women are supposedly denying men, and men are saying to her, but if women deny men things, they'll get abusive. And she's like, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you repeat what I said back to me? How dare you? Oh my God, the entitlement. Bitch, please.
Yeah.
Are literally rationalizing RAPE and MURDER and domestic violence by saying that we are not giving them what they want, and therefore they are justified in taking it in any way they can.
Where did they say they were justified?
She reminds me of
Iron Law of Woke Projection.
Rebecca Sullivan. You remember Rebecca Sullivan? She was on Calgary TV on CBC. I did a whole video breaking down what she was saying about the Red Pill movie, because the Wild Rose Party had and the Conservative Party, the young conservatives on campus at the University of Calgary, I believe, had arranged a screening for the Red Pill documentary. And she came on and she just spouted a bunch of this bullshit. And and I just picked it apart line by line by line.
I remember.
I think it was called Well Met.
Yes, I
Rebecca
remember that.
Sullivan. Yeah.
It looks like she's enjoying this, actually.
She is.
Oh,
I think she is.
Rebecca Sullivan was enjoying every moment of her, 5 minutes in the limelight. But everything, she didn't bring receipts for anything she said. And then she just made a bunch of wild, baseless claims. And then her and the host had a nodding session. Oh, yeah. Oh, no wonder it's controversial. Oh, yeah, that's exactly why the men's rights movement is controversial. Because of all of the lies that I've told you about them. Right? And it's like, what? Yeah, no. This is this is literally what they do.
Yep.
Right? They just go in and like a pigeon on a chessboard, and then they strut around like they won.
Yep.
Knock over all the pieces, shit all over everything, and strut around like they won. And it's like, no, somebody actually has to go in and pick apart everything, every claim they're making. And if they're not going to bring receipts, if this bitch is not going to show me those comments, then I'm going to assume they don't exist.
Yep. Shall we? I'm going to play some more.
And what troubles me is that the media is complicit in this. Look at how many stories they're writing about this. Look at how sympathetic these articles are. And it's not that they shouldn't be sympathetic. It's not that we shouldn't have compassion. But
this is what you're arguing.
Yeah, that's
literally that's what you're arguing. We shouldn't have compassion or sympathy, because men will use that compassion and sympathy to justify violence against women. If you show men any kind of compassion or sympathy, they'll turn into monsters that'll scrape off your face in the very instant. What a hysterical, vicious, abusive framing. This woman is psychotic.
And it gets better.
She's terrible, horrible, no good, and very bad.
Yep.
All right, shut your whore mouth, Kevin. Jesus.
For women who are lonely in marriage, or women who are in dangerous marriages, or women who are most likely to be hurt or unalived by their domestic partners. Where's all that? So
most likely are lesbians.
Yeah, but and also we already have that covered with laws and
special laws.
Yeah, lots of even special laws beyond the regular laws. I don't know what it is. I mean, essentially she's saying we'll solve men's problems when women live a perfect life. Free of any problems, any difficulties. Fuck men until this is settled. I bet you this woman believes that healthcare is a human right. And I say that because if this is your attitude, you can kiss all that shit goodbye. Because if there are no men paying into the system because you are waiting for them to off themselves, or they're not having kids, they're not getting married, in one generation, it's over. All that shit that you think that we deserve, you're not going to get it. You're going to find out what actual human rights actually means when the system is completely gone because you don't support paying into it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to draw attention to one thing. Okay, so we have different categories of side, right? We got homicide.
Yeah.
We got filicide. We got regicide. We got infanticide. And we got femicide. We don't have androcide.
No, of course not.
No. But one thing I want to draw everybody's attention to is that infanticide gets the mother who commits it a lighter sentence, but femicide gets the man who commits it a harsher sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we really protecting in this society? Who are we really looking out for, right? If women who commit infanticide get a shorter sentence, a lighter sentence, than anyone else who kills a baby, okay? Whereas a man who kills a woman, femicide, gets a harsher sentence than anyone else who kills another person. Who are we really protecting? Right? From the MURDER unaliving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and men get harsher sentences for killing women than women get for killing men.
Oh, in Spain, femicide is an actual category under the law.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? It's not just an informal thing where, if a man kills a woman, he gets he tends to get a higher conviction rate.
She just hates the fact that men exist. That's probably it.
Well, she doesn't see how good she has it.
Of course
she
not.
could kill her baby.
That's what I'm saying. So when everything falls and the suffering starts, I mean, she's not going to be able to adapt. Like, there's going to be women with men, and they're going to be fucking homesteading and shooting their own food, like, off in the middle of nowhere. She is going to be in, like, a collapsing city, wondering where the fuck are the men saving me? This is why I voted against them, or whatever it is that she's going to use to rationalize.
Yeah, no.
But anyway.
These men keep driving by while I'm standing here with a flat tire trying to evacuate the city.
Yeah, exactly.
And those evil, horrible men not helping me for free. Like, fuck you, bitch.
All right.
Yeah, but I think the ultimate thing to take away is what Brian said. She wants to have a system that she does not buy, like she does not actually contribute to.
Yep.
And unfortunately, you can't have that forever.
No, but I mean, that's like peak entitlement. Like, the idea that you can just say, this is what I want my life to be like, but I don't want to give anything to anybody else. Not even one man. Not even one man in my life do I want to, like, work with and collaborate with. I'm just going to, like, just assume that all men will just somehow, through, like, osmosis or like, like, reproduce,
just
like splitting cells. No, because men can't have sex with women, so we can't have kids. So we can forget that, okay? So somehow men have to live long enough to, like, basically keep her life nice and comfy until she's ready to die. And then fuck it. Like, whatever happens to that, who cares?
And do it out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah. Well,
just
they should be grateful.
Sheer generosity.
They should be grateful for the opportunity. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, she's levitating above all the rest of us.
Yes.
Right? It's like, they should be happy to give everything for nothing.
Yep. Anyway, I got a super chow, so I should probably read that. I got a super chow from...
And I probably should do some arm twisting because it's not moving.
Laptop 215, this is $5. and says that lady is probably engaged in motivated reasoning. If she can steer the conversations she has towards that conclusion, or twist what the other person says as justifying forced sex, then she gets to rinse her hands of it in the face of normal people and scapegoat any conversation along these lines on the same ground. She's trying to make talking about the male loneliness a taboo via guilt by association. You probably already know this, but I just wanted to throw in $5. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You know what? I'm gonna tell people. Like these guys who are saying, "Oh wow, all lady," like, but if you don't give men what they want, they'll just act like monsters. These guys are idiots, and they don't understand men. They don't understand themselves. I'm gonna tell you what men will do in this response to the loneliness epidemic. This is what men are gonna do. They're gonna continue to work until they break themselves, and when they break themselves, they're gonna kill themselves. And there's going to be more and more and more that are going to disappear into lives of quiet desperation. And then everything is going to slowly break down. And it won't be because men consciously chose to walk away. It'll be because women like this shamed them so much. They shamed them into complete and utter shutdown. Like, it's not just that this woman doesn't want to have anything to do with a man. You know what? Fine. Don't have anything to do with a man. Keep your fucking mouth shut. Don't create TikToks about this. Just go live your life in your hole in the wall and shut up. But no, she has to do one more. She has to go out and she has to spew more of the toxic misandry that is destroying men's ability to continue to do what they're doing to keep society alive. It's not enough that she doesn't pay into the system. She also has to vomit acid into it. It's not that enough that these women are like, yeah, I don't want to do my job on the treadmill of society. That's the plebe's job. I'm not a plebe. I'm a woman. I deserve everything. It's not just that. It's also that they go and they get a fucking sledgehammer and they start fucking with the people, the men who are actually doing the work. Women like this are going in and they're abusing the shit out of the men. They're going in and slapping them and whipping them and smacking them and saying, you're monsters, you're awful, you're horrible people, you don't deserve to exist. Here's some more baggage to push you even more to suicide. It's not just that she doesn't add to the system.
Yeah,
it's
no.
that she's
and it's not even
making things worse.
Yeah, no, it's not just that she doesn't add to the system. It's not that she doesn't add, but she wants to take away from the system. Right? It's that she's actually actively sabotaging the system.
Yep, actively sabotaging the system. Like, yeah.
You're just a woman with a small brain, with a brain a third the size of us. It's science.
Okay. Let's keep going.
As far as I can see, this whole narrative feels like it's being used to groom us back into submission. It's being used to rationalize male violence. It's being used to empower men to continue to be abusive to women.
And men have any response to anything?
No.
Except just resignation?
Just work and give the government all your money so that they can pass it on to really thankful and appreciative women like this one.
That, like, when men have absolutely no place to be or have an opinion in her, you know. And the funny thing is that people listen to this.
Yes, they do.
They listen to this person. They think that what she's saying makes sense. Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Half the human race doesn't have a right to have a feeling. Really?
Yeah.
That's the world we fucking live in. This makes sense to people. This makes sense to the average normie. You pull them off the street, show them this, and they're like, oh yeah, men don't have a right to a feeling. Oh, why don't men feel? Oh, they're so bad. And the fact that they don't feel, that's why they commit suicide, so it's their fault too.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing and absolutely self-destructive. Like, we are watching a society self-destruct in real time. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, this might have worked like 10 years ago when we still had the narrative of the one heroic man that just carried all of the women who were hurt by other men on his shoulders. Like the Lifetime movie with every man is awful except the one dude that just saves her from everything. You know that? We don't have that anymore. That's disempowering to women. So men don't even have the role as the one good man anymore. That's where this is going to become. This is going to start to feed on itself in a very negative way, in a race to the bottom, because you can get away with this level of shaming and condemnation of men and masculinity if you allow that men can be the one good man. If every other man is horrible, at least you are the one good man who is heroically standing up and saving the women, right? They don't allow for that anymore. They don't have that narrative anymore. They don't have that heroic male narrative anymore. It's not allowed because it is disempowering to women. So there is now nothing men can do except suffer in an acid bath of misandry and just turn off one by one. The very people that we rely on for everything, we are beating into a state of paralysis with the words of women like this.
Okay, Allison, you're
Yes.
echoing on Brian's feed.
Oh,
and
are you?
I am echoing on Brian's feed as well.
Well,
Okay.
it's not coming through to the audience, I don't think. Let me
Okay.
maybe it's my
Maybe I'm just too loud.
Yeah, I think Allison's just really loud. But
Well-
I'll turn down my gain a little bit if that helps. Maybe.
Okay,
All right.
because yeah, no, that works. That because your thing isn't flashing right now.
Yeah.
So.
It does a little bit when Allison's
Okay.
yelling, but
Okay, sorry guys. Did I yell too much?
I don't
in the
know.
chat?
I don't know if the chat saw it because I'm not looking at the Discord things lighting up. I'm looking at my OBS.
Okay.
It tells me what's being picked up. So
Okay, I should probably
All
do
right.
some arm twisting. So,
all right.
guys, I do have to ask for you guys to help me out so I can continue to do this work. Please go to feedthebadger.com/support. Nobody has put anything through since the beginning, so I guess I have to do some arm twisting. Please, please, please help me out. I really need to get this equipment so I can, like the laptop or something to work on so I can continue to do the work on the show and also on the fiction that I've been working on. So please go to feedthebadger.com/support. I'm really sorry about this sudden expense. My laptop just decided to die. So, but I do need your guys' help, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you to everybody who's helped so far, but just take the time. Somebody take the time. Feedthebadger.com/support. Just put $5 in, so I feel like we're moving at all. Please. Okay, feedthebadger.com/support. All right.
Okay, and Allison, if maybe you should offer a reward instead of a arm twisting punishment.
What kind of
So-
reward?
I don't know, maybe listening to the intermission music from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay, or not listening to the wailing feminists?
Yeah.
Just take the
So-
time, guys. Take the time. Put feedthebadger.com/support into your browser. You don't have to put anything in. Just think about it. Do it for me, please. Okay, let's do some more of this.
And I am not okay with that. So while I do care about
cares what
men's
you're not
mental
okay
health
with?
and their
You
access to
don't
healthy
give a
relationships,
fucking. You don't.
Language.
Yeah.
Okay. This person doesn't give a flying crap about men's mental health or their access to healthy relationships. She just
No.
used a whole bunch of threat narrativing to silence the entire conversation around men's loneliness. She just slammed it with a big bat of threat narrative. And then you don't get to say, "Oh yeah, I really care about men. Just please hand me the bat. I'm gonna beat the shit out of this guy." You know, like you don't get to do that. You don't get to beat the shit out of men, the symbolic man, and then say, "Oh yeah, I really care about men." No, you don't.
So let's say you're a woman and you are you really care about a kind of social approval, but you also don't want men to take the spotlight away from you. So you want to both appear to be a good person while also making sure that you keep men in their place. I guess one way to do it is to virtue signal, because that's what this amounts to. This is what a lot of people who, you know, they come out and they're like, oh, I care about men too. Don't you care about men? But then when you look at what they're actually doing or not doing, you see that it's like, you're just virtue signaling. You're just telling me that you care, not because you want me to care about men, but because you want me to recognize that you're a good person. That's what she's doing. That's why she's saying, I care about men's mental health, but they're still terrible people, and that they shouldn't, like, basically, you know, feel entitled to anything.
I care about men, but caring about men allows them to be monsters. So
yes, so I can't care about them at the same time.
No, I think if you wanted to actually look, if you were someone who wanted to actually, number one, help with the problem, number two, look like you were a good person, right? And number three, look like you were a good person who cares about the problems facing men, you would actually be advocating for the traditional roles of men and women, the traditional gendered division of labor. That's what you'd be advocating for. Like, I don't see any other way to do it without stumbling on something, right? If you want to, without stumbling on a contradiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do it, if you want to appear to be a good person who cares about men and who cares about society and who cares about your place in the world and your people's perceptions of you, you would be advocating for the nuclear family. You would be advocating for at least a quasi-traditional relationship between men and women.
A cooperative relationship between men and women.
Yeah, complementary and cooperative. Not a meeting of identicals, but a meeting of people who have equal value in a relationship because they fill in the blank spots on each other's spreadsheets, right? And those would be the blank spots that I choose are not the blank spots that my husband chooses for himself, right? That I choose for myself, not the ones that he chooses for himself, right? So it's complementary. It's a complementary relationship where I happily fill in his blank spots and he happily fills in my blank spots, and we both fill in each other's blank spots, and then we go forward into a bright and happy future because we've got each other's backs, we're compensating for each other's weaknesses, we're helping each other with our strengths, right? And we're doing all of those things, right?
Yep.
And that's how you build society. That's how you build families. And if you want to build productive children who grow into productive adults, right? That's how you raise them, with parents that are not just one half of the spreadsheet or the other half of the spreadsheet, but with both halves. Like, I don't understand how this is complicated. This is what got us through the Pleistocene.
Yeah, well, this is like the one thing they can't agree with. They want to be able,
because
they want to have their cake and eat it too. Basically, I mean,
they want to have no man who earns except for their man, right? Yeah, no. Like, I'm sorry, you're not a high value enough woman, bitch. To demand that, to have a higher income man than you, right? At the same time as basically saying no man has the right to earn more than you do.
Read the next super chow.
Oh yeah. So I thank you. I got a super chow from Laptop 215, and he says, for $5. You don't actually have to say or express support for awful things for people with motivated reasoning to twist your words against you. It's very unlikely that people would unironically express support for forced sex, but with enough feminist bullshit, reinterpretation, and a bit of strong-arming from some feminist allies, anything is possible on their end. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to respond to this. As soon as she's starting to say, well, if we actually express concern and empathy for men, what men are doing is using that to justify rape. As soon as she says that, she is a disingenuous, abusive, psychotic asshole. Okay?
Yeah.
She is using a threat narrative to shut down any kind of concern. And this is the real problem with feminism. All right? Feminism gives women like this the tools to make these assumptions and make people agree with these assumptions when they are completely wrong. All right? This whole idea of rape culture, she's basically pulling on the rape culture toolkit to shut down the conversation about compassion for men. And this is the problem with feminism. And it's why you have to shut down feminism before we can even talk about compassion for men. She's demonstrating it. She uses the rape culture toolkit, this idea that all men support rape, in order to make this connection between having compassion for men's loneliness and allowing men to rape, or men justifying rape. This is what she's doing.
Yep.
And she's doing it because feminism gives her the toolkit to do it. You gotta take that toolkit away. You gotta challenge it wherever it comes out, or we're never going to get to the point of having compassion for men. Never. This is where it starts. You gotta challenge the notion that men are responsible for the evil in the world, because if you don't, people have the biggest excuse ever to ignore the problems facing men. They make their own problem. It's toxic masculinity. They have these problems despite all the help we already give them. Male privilege. They have these problems despite the fact that they're the real problem of the world. So why would we help the real problem of the world? Wouldn't that just create more real problems in the world? You see all this narrative? All of these narratives? Every single one of them has to go. Because they're our excuses. And I'm not saying that feminism created the pressure to have to embrace these. They're the prostitutes. The clients drive the actual industry, right? That's what they say. The demand drives it. The demand comes from all of us and all of our desire, men's desire to have an identity of strength, because something that your husband has told me repeatedly, Karen, men feel diminished when we talk about their problems. They prefer the narrative of strength. Men's desire for that, and women's desire to have this kind of moral authority through victimhood. We all want that. It makes us feel good, doesn't it? It makes us feel good as women. It makes us feel good as men. And they provide it. And the only way to end it is to grow up as men and women.
It is like Warren Farrell said, right? That women's greatest strength is their facade of weakness, and men's greatest weakness is their facade of strength, right? But I think that there can be a balance achieved there where people can be happy in sort of the consensual delusion of those things, right? Of those facades, right? Where it's like that gender relationships, marital relationships during peasantry, right? That paper, I don't know how long ago I read it. It's like probably 8-10 years ago, where they said that, women had a huge amount of control over marital relationships. They had a huge amount of power within marital relationships and in their communities, in all of those things, right? But they gave their men everybody just kind of tacitly agreed that men were in charge, even when they weren't, and women were submissive, even when they weren't, right? And everybody got along because everybody felt like they, in the eyes of the public, right, that they were doing their thing, right? They were behaving in ways that were socially acceptable, right? And it's kind of like, if you want to get into another Deep Space Nine analogy, Nishka and the Grand Nagus, right? Quark and Rom's mom, and the Grand Nagus, and she is the power behind the throne. She's his financial advisor. She's not supposed to wear clothes. She's not supposed to make profit. She's not supposed to engage in economic activities. She's not even supposed to leave the house, right? But she is this power behind the throne. And it really is kind of, there's a feminist spin on that, on those episodes where she insists on wearing clothes, and she insists on earning profit in her own name, and she insists on all of these things, right? And it throws her into peril, right? And it throws the Grand Nagus into peril of the Ferengi Alliance, right? Throws both of them into peril on multiple occasions because she's stirring the pot. She's disrupting a relationship where if she was just the power behind the throne, if she could settle for that and settle for that soft power, right? That soft but extremely legitimate power, right? Everything would be fine. But she's like, no, I want to wear clothes, and I want to earn profit in my own name, and I want to do this, and I want to have status, and in public, and I want to blah blah blah, right? She's envying him, right? Probably the most stressful aspects of his life, envying him for them. But at the same time, it's just like I'm just thinking. Like if you look at what is going on here now in our society, it kind of mirrors that. And I don't think we're going to get to some kind of Star Trekky utopian Ferengi.
I disagree.
Jiggering of.
I disagree.
No, I don't think women have it in them.
No. I disagree. Not necessarily on that. I disagree that this isn't a reflection of that whole submissive woman, a man, dominant. I think this narrative is, and I think that this process of reducing yourself down to a victim in every single circumstance is our era's submissive woman. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter how bitchy she is, but she is saying.
No, but she demands power, and that's the thing. She demands that she has to have equal power, despite being weak and helpless and incapable and just has no backbone and just can't cope, right? Like this is. My grandmother never wanted to usurp my grandfather's respect in the community, right? Like his position in the public, his position in the community, right? No, he was a hardworking man who did for his family as he should. He earned. He was. And she was a career woman. She was not just some.
Can I just point something out? As feminism has gained a higher and higher profile in our society, women have receded, in some cases politically. In fact, like prior to the 1950s, I think half of pictures, motion pictures, were directed by women. Something that people don't know. The peak in STEM happened in 1984. As feminism gains, as this narrative of female moral submission gains predominance, women are seen less in terms of their equal contribution. And that's the gender equality, so quote unquote gender equality paradox. The only thing is that the assumption is these cultures that embrace the feminist submissive woman version are somehow promoting gender equality, when in fact they're not. They're promoting a new, or not even new, but a reframing of the old form of feminine submission, except now they are submitting to a negative male authority, a male authority that they condemn. And I think there are actual social reasons for all of this. But ultimately, what she's doing is she's maintaining men's identity in order to keep them working. And
but I think honestly, like in the past, right? The idea of feminine submission was an agreed upon facade.
Yeah, now this is considered involuntary feminine submission. She doesn't want to do it. It's against her will, but men are just so powerful. They can even get into her head and make her do things when they're not even around. They're just so powerful. Their thoughts force the atoms in her brain into the configurations of patriarchy. They're just so powerful, and she's so weak and so pliant and so responsive to the agency of men. That's what she's doing.
It's
fucking addictive. I'm telling you, this is addictive.
Whereas like I'm addicted to telling my husband all kinds of things that he's just like, he blushes and he's like, don't call attention to it, and he's just like, oh, why you gotta be that way? Right. And it's because like, I know I have a huge amount of power in our relationship. I know I have a huge amount of power in the public eye, the public sphere. Right. I know all of those things. Right. But, and he is like, oh, I pay all the bills. Well, yeah, you do. And but I have access to all your bank accounts. So, just,
and that's pretty common.
Sleep with one eye open tonight. But like it's like, that's an agreement between us where he gets to present a certain face to the public and I get to present a certain face to the public, and I don't mind. I'm not embarrassed to be the shopper and the chef and the chauffeur and the housekeeper and the kibble provider for the stupid dog who thinks he's a maraca.
That's what that is, eh?
Yeah, that's the dog. We have a tracker on him just in case he escapes. Because he's little. Little. He could be eaten by coyotes.
He could be stepped on by a buffalo.
Or just stolen by somebody because everybody loves him and everybody wants to steal him.
Okay.
But even people who don't want dogs want to steal him. But
we got another super chow.
But what I'm saying is, right, that arrangement, right, that kind of under the table, sub rosa, right, agreement that, okay, so I will play the dominant man and you will play the submissive woman. But we both know that's not how things work. But it's a polite fiction that we present to the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's immensely valuable in terms of motivating men and motivating women.
Yeah. And this is the irony of all of this. Is that this individual is sacrificing something very valuable and she has no idea that she's doing it. Like, she's getting cheated out of something and she has no idea. She probably is completely unconscious about it. She thinks she's getting a good deal, and that's because she's delusional.
Well,
But-
she's getting a bunch of cats that she
Yeah,
can
well,
die
yeah,
with,
but-
and they'll eat her body during the week before her landlord.
Well, that's actually a
discovers that
misnomer.
she died.
Cats don't eat their owners. And honestly, I feel bad for the cats because cats are living beings. They do well with an owner that understands that other things exist besides herself, and I don't know if this woman does. That any kind of consciousness other than her own is actually legitimate. But what my
Really,
overall point is that this is
literally no cat in the world who has eaten its owner when locked in an apartment and
I
starving.
don't think so. I think it's been dogs, and it was accidental, really. But my point is this. Okay. This is addictive. This framework of men and women is the most addictive framework we've ever had. This
Oh, it's
idea
like-
that women are not
like
even.
crack.
Yeah, women. It's like the thing with this previous framework is that women chose to submit. You see, they chose it, and there was an understanding that that was the case. They chose it, and everybody knew. Yes, yeah, you could not choose it. That was part of like the taming of the shrew. Everybody knows the women cannot choose it.
The wife of
Yeah.
Beth.
Yeah, you can choose it. They knew that. They knew that. This framing is women just can't help but be submissive to men. Even
Or-
and
but be subjugated to men.
but be subjugated to men. And men, even though the men's authority is illegitimate, women just can't help but be subjugated to it.
Well,
and
because
that
they're
is
forced.
that is for some reason that is crack to most people. They just
Oh,
can't
it's not-
help themselves.
It's not just opium; it's fentanyl.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just they cannot freaking help themselves. It's like, oh my god, women are as pliant as a thing that has absolutely no will of its own. Sign me up for that shit. And men and women do it. They
Yeah, it's
love
not-
that shit.
Oh yeah, no, it's not coffee; it's meth. It's not
Yeah.
a tacit agreement either, right? Like the kind of fictional relationship between men and women of old was always kind of a consensual, kind of under the table agreement that okay, so we're gonna pretend this, and and then and honestly, there would be times where the woman would get the better of her husband in a conversation in public, and he'd be like, oh yeah, she got me, and the other way around, and all of that, right? And it was all in good humor, and it was all because everybody knew what was going on. Everybody knew what was going on, right? In the relationships between men and women, like how they're supposed to work, right? And everybody knew when a man was abusive with his wife. Everybody knew when a woman was abusive with her husband. Everybody knew that, right? Because they went beyond the bounds of the sort of the
wink and the nod. Yeah.
the wink and the nod, and the here's the polite fiction, and we're just gonna pretend that this is all but
Yeah.
she has a little, yeah.
We lost our meta understanding of the relationship between men and women. We
Because
lost
of feminism.
because of feminism. Feminism destroyed our philosophical meta understanding of how men and women worked and how men and women conduct themselves. So we lost that through feminism, and it replaced it with a highly addictive and absolutely ludicrous belief that women don't even have they have no personal agency whatsoever. They are simply reflections of men's actions. Literally, women are just a reflection of men in a mirror. That's it. That's the feminist framework. When you get right down to it, that is the feminist framework. Because I have tried to find the bottom of the well of are you going to reduce women's agency down to men's actions here? And feminists are yep, let's do it. So if there's no man in the room, if there hasn't been men for 6 generations, if women do that, they're still doing it because of men. Yep. Women never escape from men. Even if all men were dead for 60 years, women would still be enacting male privilege and patriarchy. Okay, so basically women have no existence, no separate existence outside of men. And this is crack to people.
You remember Agent Orange?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and wasn't one of the things, one of the comments on the forum, the private discussion forum, that we feminists need to, we'll probably have to kill all the women too, and just leave it to the feminists and the minor girls to carry on, because the women will all retain the patriarchy, the internalized patriarchy, and so all adult non-feminist adult women will have to be killed as well.
Yeah, talk about like incel files. Like no, and there's no FBI file on those people. Essentially, for those of you who don't know, Agent Orange infiltrated a bunch of radical feminist forums, and he found some really dark shit. And one of the things was actually, and probably not necessarily serious, but at least considered plans for killing all men, all boys, and most women who weren't feminist.
Yep. And only keeping the feminist women and the girls alive.
Yep.
Because they wouldn't have internalized patriarchy yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Internalized patriarchy is apparently objecting to killing half the human race. I guess sign me up for that shit then.
Yeah, well, okay. You know, like I'm just looking at it, and I don't necessarily worry about in terms of like gender side, right? I'm not worried about that, right? Like, you can convince a group of otherwise sane people to do like a genocide against like another tribe, right? But you can't convince them to do it against their own family members. But that the fact that they would actually say shit like that, and then it was actually exposed on A Voice for Men, right? And nobody's investigating these women, right? All of the authorities were like, oh, you know,
they're women.
They're just women venting.
Just women. What can women do? Women just, they're reflections of men. They don't really exist on their own.
Yeah, no, and they're just venting their frustrations.
They're led by a woman. What does a woman know?
Well.
Okay, so I have a thank you. One thank you to give. Somebody actually gave $5. So thank you to that payphone. I'll just say that payphone. I won't say the whole thing. Who gives us give me $5 towards my laptop. Just so you guys know, I think I have like 3 days left. 4 days? Let me just double check here. 4 days on this project. 4 days and 765 to go. So if you can help.
Are you not entertained?
Okay, Brian, I'm not entertained. What is that?
I'm really. That's Gladiator.
That was for the donations, and also because I was thinking about the Roman Empire. That's what men do.
Then I must be a man, because I think about it quite a bit. Maybe that's the secret appeal of Honey Badger Radio. The fact I'm a Roma boo. Alright, so please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help me out. We've got a little ways to go. 4 days left, so take a weight off my mind. I'll know that I'll be able to afford this, the replacement of this, the equipment, the laptop that I need to keep going. Feedthebadger.com/support. All right, shall we do a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I got some a super chow, and I got 2 super chats. So let me do those, and then we'll play some more. So this is a super chow from Albatross. Gives us $15 and says, the good news, men's issues are becoming more prevalent in the zeitgeist. The downside, it's attracting more snake oil and hyper-political culture divisionists like these. Well, yeah, because they're like that. I think they're freaking out because they don't have 100% control over the dialogue because of the internet. And yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where it can't be ignored. So, you know, let them cope and seethe if they wish. But
yeah,
we're going to
like
be seeing
Rebecca
some
Sullivan,
genuine
so-
hatred. What was that, Alice? Or Karen?
Like Rebecca Sullivan, right?
Yeah.
When the Red Pill movie came out.
Yes,
she was
yes,
just like,
exactly.
oh my God. It's like, and it was basically like, okay, so somebody tacked a notice on the Senate doors in ancient Rome saying Caesar sucks, right? And she's like, oh, they're threatening me. She's like Caesar going, oh, I'm under threat. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so I got super chats, 2 of them. Albert Dated Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says, drop you $5. That payphone guy is me. So that's the person who donated. Thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and here, I'll play you something for that.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Speaking of Agent Orange, Albatross gives us $10 on Super Chat and says, I got in one argument a while ago about women's issues. The girl I argued with basically said patriarchy was men's ability to say no to her. I rolled my eyes and walked off. That is the power of patriarchy for your ass. So, yeah, just tell her next time.
Right to jail, right away.
All right, so let's play some more of this garbage.
Relationships, when they start providing space for those healthy relationships, I'll be right there at the table to talk about it.
I've been thinking.
Okay,
What?
so that was the end of. It's just you know saying
Wait,
that
did
when
she just say that men have to? Okay, wait. What is she? Who is she blaming for the lack of healthy relationships?
Men.
Go back a bit
Men.
more. No,
No,
another
it's-
10 seconds. Another 10 seconds.
Allison, it's men. Of course, it's men.
men.
It's always
Come
men.
on.
All right, let's just. I want to hear it from before
Okay.
mouth.
No.
All right. We'll play it.
So while I do care about men's mental health
No,
and their access to
you
healthy
don't.
relationships, when they start providing space for those healthy relationships, I'll be right there at the table to talk about it.
What the fuck are you? Men can't have relationships. Well, when they start providing space for healthy relationships, we'll talk about men not having relationships. Your brain is a pretzel.
Yeah.
That's a very unfortunate thing. I think you're going to find it more and more unfortunate as you grow old. And honestly, I what is it with these misandrists? They just have these, I don't know, it might be micro expressions that make them age them like 20, 30 years in an instant.
I think when you make smug face all the time, it like really wears away at the face skin.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, she needs more. She needs more like you know, that lotion made out of baby foreskin from South Korea.
You know, honestly, I wish that we could just promote this idea that being a misandrist ages you and makes you gain 20 pounds. Then women would stop.
Turn into one of those
Right.
hags from the fairy tales.
No, they would just
children.
stop. They would just stop.
Yeah.
Honestly. You know what? Be it liking men, you'll instantly lose 20 pounds. Every woman would be pro-male.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to lose 20 pounds, but I wouldn't mind if it migrated back where it came from.
Okay, let's
Because
play.
I lost my ass and I gained a gut.
Oh, yeah.
I never
With
had an
men-
ass. So.
with menopause, so
Let's get so the next. Remember, this video is not just this woman. This is a super cut.
it's a compilation.
Yeah, it's a
video.
compilation
It's like,
video of hatred.
It's like a mixtape.
It is. It's like a mixtape.
I've
That
been
your
thinking more
enemy-
about the rise of
enemy made
single
for
lovely
you.
men. I've been thinking about how men take men's advice on relationships and how they tell women to shut up and that they're stupid and they're overreacting. And to me, this just comes to a pinnacle of like men rejecting consent. Like the larger concept of consent.
Oh, rapey, rapity, rape.
Never go full retard.
Rapity, rapity, rape.
This makes me uncomfortable. Therefore, rape culture.
Like,
Ugh.
okay, so just say it. Just like say Andrew Tate is bad.
Let's not.
Like, I'm like,
No, but you know she wants to, Brian. That's what this is all about.
She doesn't.
Right?
She wants to say all men are Andrew Tate. That's
Andrew
what she wants
Tate.
to say. Yeah. That's really what this is. But she's, I just wanted to tell her, if she said that to me, I would tell her to shut up, like right away. I would. I'd be like, shut up. And I know that's not what she wants to hear, but that's what she has to hear.
No,
Well-
she should shut up.
Yeah, she should shut up.
yeah, no, and like when Kate, my husband got into an argument back when he was living in a hippie co-op, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was before we met, right? And he got into an argument over. He read The Myth of Male Power, and then he went to like a seminar by some freaking drum circle guy, right? Like Boogaloo, freaking Drums in the Woods. Let's talk about our feelings and puppy pile, kind of, dude. And then he brought it up with one of the girls in his co-op, right? One of these university students. And she basically told him that if he was not willing to accept the fact that patriarchy, as she envisioned it, was real, then they not only couldn't have a conversation about anything, but they could no longer be friends. So,
yeah,
that's where these women are at.
Yep. All right. Guess let's.
Well, better than the me.
Yeah. Albert Nader Retro gives
Well,
$2.
I'm just glad he didn't bang her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albert Nader Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says Andrew Tate is bad, and you should feel bad. Okay.
Andrew Tate is just a indicator.
Andrew Tate is an utter bimbo.
Whatever.
There, I said it.
Okay, Andrew Tate is the equivalent of a bimbo. He's the equivalent of a very attractive, superficially attractive, not that shallow person, right? A shallow person. A shallow, superficially attractive person. A bimbo. A male, a himbo.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what he is, right? I can tell you, I will, if I come across a Bugatti or a Lamborghini or like some kind of, like, we have a dude in our neighborhood who has those kind of cars.
Yeah.
Right? And whenever I see one, I want to look at it. It's a thing of beauty. It's elegant. It's a thing of beauty and precision and perfection engineering and all of those things, right? It's something that you can admire as a piece. Like, would I want to date that guy? No. Because his priorities are all in the wrong place, right? He's just a dude whose parents own a restaurant. He's not like a billionaire. He's a guy who spends all of his money on $800 shoes and Bugattis, right? And I'm like, well, that's not what me or most women are into. We're just not into that, right? We don't want some man who's going to frivolously spend his money on.
Well, there are a lot of women that would. I don't think women like you would.
No, they would spend their time.
Yeah.
With that man, and they would maybe bang him.
Yeah.
But they're not going to want to get into any kind of long-term relationship.
They're probably
with
not
him.
looking for a long-term relationship at all. But
Yeah,
I think
but we're getting into the weeds. Can we finish this woman's
I want to get
whatever?
into the next thing. I just want to say that you know, we could spend a whole show, if you guys want, disavowing Andrew Tate for like an hour, and I'm certain that feminists will stop comparing us. No, I know, but I'm just making it clear.
I'm not going to disavow him.
I know,
and I'm not going to disavow Rouge V. I'm not even going to disavow Rollo Tomasi, who has disavowed me.
Well,
right? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, 100%. I'm saying that I don't think if we did, it would make a difference.
What did you do to get Rollo to disavow you?
Oh, I existed.
Oh no, Rollo banned both you guys on Twitter. You remember correctly.
Yeah, but I actually did something. I'm not sure that Karen would have even bothered.
Blocked by association.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It was not by association. It wasn't because he blocked Allison and then he blocked me. It's because he's been highly suspect of me.
Sure. Chameleon. Yeah.
Suspicious from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like since 2010.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
He thinks I'm a grifter and a shill.
He invented the manosphere, you know. He invented the red pill. He invented all of it.
Whatever. And I'll call him out.
He invented
anytime.
You saying whatever to his claim that he invented the red pill. So
yeah, no, but I'm happy to call him out whenever he says something retarded.
Sure.
And that's
funny thing. That sort of preceded my blocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, ever since my name started being mentioned in R the Red Pill on Reddit, he was like, oh, you gotta stay away from her. She's bad news. She's like a changeling. She's a Trojan horse. Right?
What
and
the
all this other crap. Yeah, no, and like I was always nice to him and stuff. Like I'd basically tell him when I thought it was full of bullshit, but
there's the problem there, Karen.
But I would praise him when I thought he said something smart. I've always been like that. I even do that with AOC, for fuck's sake, right?
So, no, fair enough. But
but
he just didn't like you.
He just
I know.
Always hated me. Always.
But of course, that devastated you as a pick-me.
Oh yeah, no, it really did. I was so upset.
I was so ashamed.
I was
so ashamed when I was blocked by Rollo.
Yeah, no, I
just
noticed.
had to crawl into my little pick-me lair and lick my wounds.
Yeah, no, I noticed it, but it's like, I have some other guy's dick to tug, not Rollo's.
Frankly, I'm not concerned with those guys at all. I'm worried about women like this. So
no, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned with the red pill guys because it's not a giant step from red pill to black pill, and the last thing you want is a ton of black pilled men.
Well,
right?
I know. I'm not saying I don't care. I'm saying that they're not really high on my priority list.
Yeah, but what the hell are black pill? Okay, let me just calm.
I'm just not concerned. I'm just not concerned with how any given man thinks about me, other than my husband. I care about what he thinks about me.
And Santa Claus.
No, Santa Claus is a pervert.
Okay.
No, he's a pervert.
Can we get off the discussion of...
He's a pervert. Okay,
we don't need...
He tries to get you to sit on his lap by offering you presents and candy, and he sneaks into your house at night, and he watches you when you sleep.
Okay.
That's a pervert.
All right. I have no idea where this started.
Well, you brought up Santa Claus.
People stop demanding we talk about Andrew Tate. Let's just move on.
All right, let's keep going.
Just let him be an object lesson and not pissing off the Romanian mob. God, let's keep going.
They cannot accept that there are some things that women want and need in a healthy relationship. They're like, no, she's overreacting. She's crazy.
58% more money.
Yeah.
No. And
in a healthy relationship.
They cannot accept that there are things that women want in a healthy relationship. Well, what do men want and need in a healthy relationship?
That's irrelevant. That's a healthy relationship.
No, but I can tell you. Good food. a decent ability to manage the budget, okay? And they want their dick tugged on the daily.
Well, it's not even that. It doesn't even have to be that specific. It could just be like men.
Yeah,
they want.
Men have needs and expectations too.
It's very cheap. Like they'll literally buy you all of the ingredients so you can cook. You don't have to spend shit. In most cases, like if men are very easy to satisfy. I don't know why women, like, they really want it to be like tougher. I think they're just projecting. Most of the time, they're just projecting. This woman doesn't understand men.
Most men are actually happier if their wives or partners earn less than them. Because and it's not because now she's like totally trapped in the relationship and completely dependent on me. No, it's because it makes them feel like they have a necessary role. Right? Well, I'm the primary earner. I have to earn, and I am
Brian?
Fulfilling that role.
Yes.
Just go back a little bit and tell it. I want to see exactly what this woman said.
All right.
This is like one of the popular.
Consent, like the larger concept of consent.
How are they rejecting consent?
They cannot accept
larger
that
concept.
there are some things that women want and need in a healthy relationship. They're like, no, she's overreacting. She's crazy.
Okay, wait. So the fact that men are lonely means that they're rejecting the overall concept of consent. And they are rejecting some kind of... Okay, you're not a healthy person. You're not going to have healthy relationships. So you have selected yourself out of this conversation. Okay, keep going.
All right.
I make the rules, and she must be submissive. And I would love to have a wife
and
that
now
I can
you're
fully
just
control.
going into some bullshit. Men are lonely. Like, what is all this? What is this delusion? Like, okay, headline: Men are lonely. This woman, men just are rejecting the overall concept of consent, and they just want to be Cro-Magnon and grab us by our hair and drag us back. Like, what?
Yeah, no. Okay,
you are unhealthy. You are an unhealthy human being. That you are extrapolating this much malfeasance from something that's just basically the rise of lonely single men. Like, why are you constructing all this malfeasance? You know why? Because there's something about this makes you feel uncomfortable. The idea that men have a being outside of you and feel things makes you feel uncomfortable. Therefore, you're going into this bizarre tangent so that you can shut it down so you don't have to look at it. Because where in this is this idea that men are expecting now to go into some woman's house, beat her over the head with a club, and drag her out by her hair? Really? Well, just talking about men's situation is condoning that? That's ridiculous.
Well, it's basically she's saying that, like, where has she actually mentioned thus far? And I will grant you, we've only gotten a few seconds in, right? Well, what do men need out of a relationship? What do they need?
She doesn't care. I don't think she actually even considers that. She just thinks that men just want women to be slaves.
Well, and as if there is any transaction going on where a man gives a woman what she needs and a woman gives a man what he needs, right? Then she's basically going to frame it as exploitive of the woman, right? Because she shouldn't have to give anybody else what they need.
Well, let's just hear what she has to say.
All right. I got a super chat I should read out. Albert Data Retro gives us $5 Canadian, says, Karen sent you some emails with 3 videos about Tate. He's evil. All right, we're just gonna move on. We're just gonna move on because, like, I don't ever want to mention this guy again. Yeah, I don't know what you want, but I think we could sit here and disavow for hours and hours, and feminists would still associate us with him. So it doesn't matter. You're focused on the wrong target. The best thing to do is ignore him and look at what's happening with regular women right now. Regular women are saying this shit. Look at what's happening to the birth rates. Look what's happening to couples. Look what's happening to divorce. Look what's happening to suicide. I'm sorry, but get your fucking priorities together.
To have a wife that I could cheat on and she doesn't say anything. And so much fucking complaining instead of just listening to the millions of women, not just now, but throughout history, who have said, hey, yeah, we just want you to be nice and like stop being assholes.
Actually, they don't want nice guys. That's a lie.
Stop your complaining and listen to us complaining for the last 1,000 years. Listen to all of our complaints for the last 1,000 years and don't complain yourselves for even the last 15 minutes. That's what she's saying.
Yep.
It's freaking ridiculous. Oh, good
Again,
Lord.
they
Like,
don't-
I
they
don't
don't-
know
they don't
why.
want nice
Like
guys.
every fucking complaint on the part of women, okay? Every fucking complaint
Is
on the part of
seriously
women
considered.
has been considered, and when it has been affordable, it has been accommodated. Every single one. From the Bible on backward.
Yeah, and she can't look at that behavior, the behavior of men in accommodating these
And men are
complaints.
finally starting to complain about women. And she's like, yeah, no, why aren't you shutting the fuck up and listening to my complaints? I have it better than any human being in history. I have it easier, more cushy, more luxurious, right? Safer, more free than any person for the last 5,000 years. Why aren't you shutting up and listening to my complaint?
Garth.
What
I don't know what
gives
to
you
say.
the right to complain for the first time in fucking history?
And then it's not
Boy,
even that men are complaining.
That escalated
like this,
quickly.
nobody
They are.
did
They
men
are
ask for
complaining.
this? Well,
They are-
yes, but
they are
did they
complaining.
ask? Listen, I don't recall men coming together and saying, "Hey, media, why don't you do a whole bunch of articles on the rise of lonely men?" I don't recall this.
The
Like
men's
maybe
like-
now that the topic is opened, I think there are men talking on it. But I don't recall any man saying, like, this was not an issue. This wasn't running
Right,
through the
no,
men's
no,
rights circles. This wasn't
Okay.
running through.
It has been, okay? It has been, and men have been complaining about it, right? There are men who are complaining about it, advocates for men and boys who are complaining about it. Warren Farrell, Paul Nathanson, right? All of these people, Tom Golden, all of these people, Paul Elam, right? All of these people have been complaining about this stuff, right? They have been, right? They have been. They haven't been insisting on articles being written for them. They haven't been insisting on anything, but they have been saying, hey, like we have something to say. Maybe you guys should listen. And it's being reported on, right? The decision of newspapers to report on this and to do so in any kind of compassionate way, as somebody who has been reported on by news media for the last 12, 14 years, right? Okay, and you too, I'm sure, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This new compassionate angle, that's totally voluntary on the part of the news media, right? That's not something that we did or we insisted on or we designed, because we've been talking about this shit for the last 12, 14 plus years, right? And what did we get for our pains? what did we get for our efforts? We got hit piece after hit piece after hit piece after hit piece after hit piece in mainstream media, right? That's what we got. And I can even, you remember Mel magazine, right?
We still go into Mel magazine sometimes. It's still there.
She could not just badmouth me. She had to badmouth a family-owned restaurant in my neighborhood that's a fixture of this neighborhood, right? She had to badmouth that and badmouth the people in my community who were there for lunch, right? She had to basically portray them all as some kind of freaking trailer trash hillbillies and dummies, right? That's what she had to do, right, in order to get her hits on her article, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, that's what we had to deal with, trying to get attention for what we were saying. And and we only started saying it when Warren Farrell started saying it, really, when you think about it. And then he lost like 90% of his freaking income. But you look at all of that, and it's like, yes, there are people who have been trying to draw attention to the loneliness epidemic among men, right? The media has never been interested until very recently to discuss that issue in any kind of compassionate way, until just very recently. So this bitch, she's like, oh yeah, no, every time women had a complaint, right? Oh, it was like quickly resolved. Oh, tender years doctrine. And then, there was the, dismantling of coverture and women having property rights, married women having property rights. And then there was the whole, the vote, and, and then there was the whole women can have credit in their own name.
And they always justify this by saying that this is creating equality, when in fact these restrictions always came with obligations on men.
Yes,
that were delayed in dismantling.
Yeah,
so they dismantled the restrictions on women, but would just the obligations on men would linger.
Yes. And then it would take like 30 years to fix the thing, or 40 years, or in the case of the draft, like 120 years. Right? Yeah. And counting. And so you're looking at this situation where women would complain, and then people would listen, and then they'd be sympathetic, and then within a decade or two, they'd get their way, right? And you have this situation now where men are finally complaining. They've been complaining since Warren Farrell started complaining, which was early 1980s.
I'm just curious about the timing of this.
People are only starting to listen now.
No, but I'm curious about the timing of this, because really, it's bizarre that they're looking at this now, because if you look at it, this has been in the works for a long time, right? This has been a concern.
So they're looking into it now when the U.S. is $32 trillion in debt.
But not just that.
Oh, shock!
What strikes me is that they're looking into it now that 10%, like in the last year or two, the number of men who are even looking for a relationship has dived 10%.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, and probably it's still going down now. Like probably it's like there may be a time in the near future where there aren't men looking for a relationship. And incidentally, look at this.
Well, do
you want a relationship with these people?
Yeah, but the whole reason why this is being taken seriously now is because now it's also a woman's complaint, because women can't find men.
Yeah, but they still seem to be in relationships with them. Like twice as many women say they're in a relationship as men. How the hell does that work?
Don't listen to what they're saying. Although, women do actually. I keep getting drawn back to that photo of these Muslim women in burqas holding out their 4 fingers, right, for a photo op. And it was because they wanted, I forget which government it was. Was it the United Arab Emirates or Jordan or Saudi Arabia, to increase the number of wives a man could take from 2 to 4? Because they didn't want to marry a poor man. They didn't want to be the sole wife of a poor man. They would rather be the 4th wife of a wealthy man.
We continue?
Yes, let's continue.
Right.
For what it's worth.
I just want to also say that if this is like the women that men have to deal with, and you're wondering why they're going to like people to help them figure out their situation and people you don't approve of, maybe the problem is with these women and what they're doing to these men. Maybe that's the issue. Yeah, if a man was like married to a woman that loved her and they had like a family, he probably wouldn't be seeking out any help from some outside source that people don't like. So maybe that's what we should be working on. How about that? Okay, well, anyway.
My husband loves and trusts me.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Trust me with all his bank accounts.
Fundamentally reject that. Fundamentally reject the concept of women having some autonomy over their lives and what relationships look like. They're like, well, I'm a man. You should obviously want to be in a relationship with a man. Otherwise, you're going to end up a lonely spinster. I think not, sir.
Oh, wait, what the hell is this? Like, again, with the smug smile. You notice how they all have the same fucking smile?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you talking to?
I think not, sir. No,
who are you talking to? Like, she just made a bunch of...
A hypothetical man that doesn't exist.
No, she's talking to the man who's desperate to commit to her.
Why?
Yeah, no, nobody... I wouldn't.
Like, I know that men are waking up because they're walking away. Like, this is the thing. This is the thing.
Okay, speaking as a bisexual woman, right? If this woman was like, "Oh yeah, no, let's get together."
Why do they all have
I would be. Yeah, I would be like, no, not touching that. Like, not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Like my husband, when he was single, might have given her a go, and he probably would have regretted it, and that would have been a lesson learned. But like, there's no way I would go near any of these women, even if I was like looking for, a female relationship.
A headache.
Female male relationship.
Look at that. Why is it they all have that same one-sided smirk? Like, why do they all look like that? And furthermore, here's the thing.
It's like the Dragon Ball Z smirk.
Men are already getting the message, and they're walking away from relationships. Now, all I can say is, please do more of that, men, because, good Lord, this is not worth having in your life.
Yeah.
Like, the average, I don't know if this woman represents the average woman.
Oh, she's she's a sin.
I don't mean physically, I mean mentally.
Means, like, in terms of her attitude. I think this is actually more common than people care to admit.
Yeah, I don't know how common this is, but I wouldn't, and here's the thing, men are doing it now. They are walking away. They are walking away from all of this. And it's really sad and unfortunate, but at the same time, as I can't in good faith say that women like this are worth being around as a man. They're not. They're not worth pairing.
Not as a lesbian, and not even as a friend.
Okay, but look at how she's talking about men and masculinity. You're going to pair up with someone who has some contempt for a fundamental aspect of your being and thinks of you in the... Like, she's saying, this is her talking to her man. Any man that would be in her life will be talked to like this and believed about like this, and will have to constantly fight against this image that she's projecting. Don't bother.
Mm-hmm.
And if these are the women who are speaking for women, because I don't see a hell of a lot of women who are taking the opposite and actually speaking up and saying this is ridiculous. Maybe there are some. There's Shu. There's a few women on Twitter that we talk with. But if this is the primary way that women are choosing to present themselves, because I don't see the other side much, then take heed.
Yeah.
It's not that you're walking away from anything, because there's nothing there in the first place.
Yeah.
These women cannot have relationships with men.
Mm-hmm.
With anyone.
But they will try to have relationships with each other and then beat the shit out of each other and rape each other and torture each other and mentally abuse each other and treat each other with appalling disrespect and encourage even more traumatic responses. But you know what? At least they're doing it to each other.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is that the entire lesbian separatist community, just lesbian separatists or bisexual separatists or whatever they are, it is a seething morass of abuse and violence. And they need men to be worse because, they need to come home. They need to pelt their fucking female lover in the face, make her bleed, make her crawl on the floor and beg for mercy, and then say, well, you could be with a man and it'd be worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting.
All
Yeah.
right, let's see if we can get through a little more. I don't know how much
A
longer
little
you guys
more.
want to go, but
You are the lonely spinster. Even when we tell men that they're being assholes, they're like, no, you're overreacting. Am I overreacting, or are you desensitized? Because clearly your species isn't doing too fucking well in...
You mean the human species? No, we're not.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, we're
Thanks to you.
No, we're the same species.
Yes.
I can't fucking believe this. This woman has found a man slumped on the ground in the road, and she's basically got out a freaking stick and is beating. Oh, you have a problem? You have a problem? Well, why'd you do this to yourself? Why'd you do this to yourself? Why are you so awful? Why are you so worthless? Like, how? God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good Lord, this makes me want to not, like, just seed from the human race entirely. I feel like, it's just...
It's really, it's frustrating. We may have to do this one in 2 parts, by the way, because the
all
whole video's like this.
All that's happening is that men are expressing a vulnerability and a hurt. And she's like, oh, I gotta get my fists out. I gotta pummel you. Look at you down there. Gotta kick you. Gotta stomp on the back of your head. Make sure you never get up again, men. Like,
hit you in the place where you're hurting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck is her problem?
Language.
All right.
Sorry,
Anyway.
I've been the one who's been getting the language one so much.
It's
Okay. We gotta finish. We gotta wrap
Yes.
this up.
We'll wrap
quick
it up.
because
Should we
I
do-
gotta.
We're only going to finish this one.
All
That's
right,
it.
I'm just
That's
gonna
it.
finish this angry Latina woman, and then we'll stop it there, I
in
think.
regards to gauging what makes you an asshole, what makes you insensitive, what makes you inconsiderate. And they have this idea of themselves in their head. They have this certain standard for themselves in their head. And when you show them anything about themselves, a mirror that shows them something they don't like about themselves, they reject it. They reject you. You're overreacting. You're crazy. And they just...
Oh
my God, this goes for a little while longer. You know what she's...
Confession,
This is what-
projection.
Confession through
absolutely.
projection.
Of course,
Jesus.
but you know what's interesting is what these women are doing is that they're angry at men that they want to be with because those men, have held them to standards, have turned them down, have maybe used them or whatever, but they're attacking the men that they would otherwise have ignored. And so it's like she's angry at the men that she wanted to be with.
She's angry at,
and she's taking it out on the men that they never had a chance with her anyways.
She's angry at Andrew Tate. She's taking it out on Alec Manassian.
Yeah, exactly. And she's treating them like they're the same. So
I don't even know what the hell is like. Honestly, I'm just surprised because it's like this is a very minuscule kind of. This isn't a real the idea that men are hurting and lonely, and then you get this the absolutely hysterical diatribe in response. And then
Yeah.
if you say, "Oh, you're being hysterical," like it's just like there's a guy who's hurt, and she took personal offense to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like what? Yeah,
No,
really?
It's okay if you're hurt. It's okay if you're hurting. I don't care if you're hurting. Just don't whine in my presence. Because
This
then
actually
I'm gonna feel like I should be doing something about it.
it's even more active than that. Like is that she keeps pointing to this article, The Rise of Lonely Single Men, which is just simply saying, hey, men are hurting in some capacity. And she is launching into this diatribe of projection and inventing this fantastic like male that with this opinion and yelling at him, and the only stimulus is this headline, The Rise of Lonely Single Men, that men have something that's hurting. That's it. This is how she responds to vulnerability in a man. You want that anywhere near you? Like predators denounce themselves, and she is announcing herself and how she responds to male vulnerability. She considers it to be, she takes it personally, and I took that personally.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, really? It doesn't really deserve this level of vitriol and hatred? Oh, men are vulnerable. How dare you do such a freaking hateful thing? Oh my God, rape culture and oh my, I'm just saying that sometimes they have things that I can't believe you just despise women and you want to put them back in the. No, I'm just saying that maybe men have challenges. No, you guys can't believe you're just an awful misogynist, handmaiden pick me. It's like, what the hell are you responding to? With such a level of hysteria. And yes, it is hysteria. All it is men are hurting. They have a vulnerability. It's not like you're looking at Godzilla coming over the mountain towards your house. You see what I'm saying? It's like... what?
Bring back lobotomies.
And electroshock
Bring
therapy.
back electroshock therapy in asylums. There's too many of them on the loose, and they have internet access.
Maybe the vibrator therapy as well.
Yeah,
I know that we've been like getting all over the place, but the response is I just want to remind everyone that this is a response to people simply saying, "Hey, men are having it a little rough. They're a little lonely. They're hurting," and this is the response. Like, these women are losing their fucking mind. They're losing their fucking mind like the government announced that we're all going to die in a meteor shower. It's like, oh my God, the world is ending. Oh, men have a vulnerability. We can't stand this. Get into the freaking formation. We got to stop it.
It's not that men have a vulnerability. It's that anybody is paying attention to it.
Yeah.
In a sympathetic way.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Anyway,
really got out of hand.
Okay. All right, let's finish this one.
I got 2 hungry dogs here, so we got to wrap this up.
All right, well, I think this is the last clip here. I'm going to play it.
Oh, for
Just
God,
cannot
Lord, please.
accept that women might know what they're talking about when it comes to what they want, and that they should actually listen to that, and that they should adapt to that, because men really.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, have you looked around the world lately? Have you not seen how good we've made things?
Okay, men are listening to women in terms of what women want. Women want too much.
Yes.
They're adapting to that. They're saying, no thanks, not interested in that contract. There you go.
It's too much.
They hate the idea of adapting. You know, they talk about masculinity being fixed and femininity being whatever, fluid, and it's to a fault.
Okay, I'm stopping it there.
No, femininity is not fluid.
No,
femininity is
just
equally fixed.
Yeah, she's full of shit.
Female sexuality is more fluid than male sexuality, right?
That hasn't really always been the case, but yeah.
But femininity is as fixed as masculinity.
I don't know. I'm just saying
know
this
what she's talking about.
This is a lot of thunder and lightning for something that's relatively innocuous, and also men are adapting. Like, it may be within our lifetime there won't be any man looking for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's gonna hit the women on the bottom first, then the women above them, and then the women, and then the mid women, and then the women above the mid women. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
All I can say is that I wish I
we're
had
all going to
something.
be starving, so.
I wish I had something more positive to say, but I don't think that this is worth having in your life if you're a man.
No.
Even the most aggressive MGTOW still allow that femininity is valuable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they still allow that they want to have, like, femininity is desirable. But this is beyond that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, this person she can't have a relationship with a man if she reacts like this to even the hint of male vulnerability, because she can't see a man as a human being.
No,
he's just basically a projection of her own.
No, she's happy. She's happy with
Yeah, can't you see how
male
happy she is?
vulnerability. She's super happy with men being vulnerable, men suffering, men having, vulnerabilities, men having problems. She's totally happy with that. She just doesn't want anybody feeling any compassion for that. That's what she has the problem with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
All right.
She would love for, I can guarantee you, she would love to be Andrew Tate's first wife.
Probably.
Ugh. I would not wish that upon him. All right.
Yeah, neither would I.
I would. I think he'd run to the Romanian mob as salvation. Okay.
Or the Romanian police.
All right. So once again, if you would like to send us a message after the show is done, you enjoy this content, you want to respond to anything, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We will endeavor to respond to your comment at the next relevant show. And once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can do it anytime after the show is over. And if you would like to help me get my laptop back so that I'm able to continue to do my work, and the crazy ass week that I've had is concluded, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help me out with that. It would be very appreciated if you did. Hopefully I'll be able to get the funds together to be able to replace my laptop, which died suddenly and spectacularly. Okay, so feedthebadger.com/support for that. And back to you, Brian.
All right.
Oh, just to let you know, the reason why we don't have a Kevin cam is because she
doesn't sit still.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah,
but
that's
she
fine.
does make a lot of noise.
Well, you have a Kevin mic then.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that's gonna be good for That's gonna be good for Halloween, though. Oh, you put her in like a little sheet. Put her in a sheet.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed. There's a link to the original video in the description. Maybe if you have a woman in your life, you can show this to her, and if she agrees with it, to like just stop talking to her. Use it as a test, if you can even get through it. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's show. Please share this video, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay, they are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.